It's good to have you back. Today we're going to be working with trim paths. Just like the name says, we're trimming a path. We're going to be animating keyframes to animate the amount of that path that is being shown. This is Julio, your motion sidekick. Now let's get started. As always, let's go ahead and get started by making a new composition. Click this new composition icon and we'll make it 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames a second. Click OK. So let's go ahead and navigate over to our Illustrator file. Here is our logo. If you can read it, great. If not, I don't blame you. It's a little tricky to read. So what it says here is SLCUT. So I happen to live in Salt Lake City. So I made this logo for Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, if we highlight this logo, I want to show you that these are all paths and they just have a stroke on them. So you can move that path around. Let's go ahead and put it back. I don't know why I just did that weird thing. Okay, let's reset it. We're going to be taking these paths and animating them. So let's go ahead and save that. Go back to our After Effects. You can either hit Command-I or here in our project panel, you can double click to bring in that logo. Navigate to where that logo is. Click Open. You want to pay attention here because you don't want to bring this in as you do want to bring this in as a composition, not as footage. By default, I believe it's going to be footage. Go ahead and switch that over to composition and then layer size. Just keep it under layer size. I don't think it matters for this project. You see it created a new composition here, so double click that new composition and you're going to have this Salt Lake City logo in there. Let's hit this for the transparency mode so you can see exactly what's going on. I showed you that it had paths, but if you click on it, it's now one solid image, and that's because it's reading it as an Illustrator file. So before we go any further, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to convert this, or we're going to have to create shapes from the vector layer. So now that we've created shapes, if you toggle this down under contents, you'll see that you'll have individual shapes, and these are all your paths. Go ahead and toggle that down. Let's click that, copy this, and let's go back to our composition here. Let's go ahead and paste that in our composition. And we're going to click on Add Trim Paths. We want to hit a keyframe for the end. We want to go about a second in. Let's add a keyframe there. Now go back to your original keyframe, all the way back to the beginning of the timeline, and let's make that 0. So what this is going to do is, if you look there, check that out. Now that's looking pretty groovy, but what we're doing here is we're animating everything simultaneously, so everything is getting animated all at once. I like this, but I want to have a little bit more control over each line. Right now, we can only set the one animation for the entire thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this or duplicate it with Command D, and I'm going to duplicate this. As you see here, it's got 10 paths in it. So I'm going to duplicate it 9 more times. Perfect. So now we have all the way up to 10. So this first one, the one that says outlines, I'm going to make this group number 1. So I'm going to select group number 2 all the way down to group number 10 and delete those. I'm going to do the same thing for group number 2. So I'm going to select them all. If I hold down Command and click group 2, that's going to deselect, and then I'm going to delete those. Same thing for group number 3. Toggle this down, toggle contents down, select all of them, deselect with Command, do that. I'm going to do the rest of all these different layers, so you don't have to watch me. I'll just go ahead and fast forward and I'll be right back. Great, now that they're all separated out into their individual layers, let's go ahead and hit Command A to select them all. Hit U just to bring up the animated keyframes on here. And now you'll see that it's exactly the same. And that's because we haven't changed any of the animation yet. But now what we can do is we can bring this down under our contents, group 5, under path. let's go ahead and switch the direction of the path, right? So now you'll notice that, and we can isolate this just so we see exactly where this one is. All right, so that's layer 5. So I think we want to do this to a few more of these layers, and I'm just picking these layers randomly. There's no really rhyme or reason. I just want to add a little variance to the animation. So I did it with layer 5, layer 8. I'm going to go down to layer 3. And I'm sorry, when I say layer 3, I mean outline 3. And then we'll also do it to layer 1, outline 1. So group, path, hit that arrow. All right. Hit Command A to select everything again. Hit U and U again to bring up just the animated keyframes. Let's hit F9 for easy ease. Go into your graph editor and make sure that your edit speed graph is selected. Now what you want to do is grab this little handle and just scoot it all the way out. Now what this is going to do is going to start from a stopped position, speed up, and then slow back down to this keyframe. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks really good. Let's go back to our timeline editor. And what I want to do is I just want to randomize this a little bit. So I'm just going to grab these keyframes and just kind of move them along the way, something like that. Now it doesn't do a whole lot, so I'm just going to select all the keyframes, grab your last keyframe, and then hold down Option. And what this is going to do is it's going to expand the animation or shrink it down proportionally. So you want to slow down the animation just a little bit. And let's take a look. Ooh, that was a little too slow. Hold down an Option again and then drag that back in. I think what I want to do is this Utah animation. I think I want to have that kind of settle in later than the rest. So that way it kind of draws your eye over to that Utah. Let's go even more so. Now you see that U is already being animated, so we have to find that part of the U. Ah, there it is. And why does it have two? It's because it has group 10 and group 3. So we want to get rid of that group 10. That looks great. So we're done. If you don't have that logo and you don't feel comfortable in Illustrator, not a problem. What we can do is we can bring an image in, we can trace that image, and then we can animate those lines off that image, right? So let's go ahead and double click in your projects panel. I found this image online. It's actually a bigger pattern, but really this is all I need. So I'm just going to grab this image and bring it in. It's a little big. I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. I'm actually going to go about 30. Let's try 35. I'm going to move this so it, you know what? Let's just solo this for now. I'm going to move this so it's in the middle. I'm going to bring this in the middle, just that bottom corner. Actually, I'm going to scale this down a little bit more. Let's go down to 30. I'm going to bring that in just so the corner of it is exactly in the middle of my composition. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to create a pattern out of this design, but I want this pattern to replicate itself, right? It'll look really cool. Trust me. Hang in there. Let's go ahead and hide that grid. And let's get started with G, or your pen tool, up in the toolbar. And we're just going to start drawing this. You got to make sure that none of your layers are selected. And I'm just going to start drawing. And if you hold down Shift, what that's going to do is either draw your line straight across or at a 45-degree angle. I'm just going to go 45s here, just so that way It's a lot easier to manage. And I'm not being super precise here. Now you see that this, the thickness of this is probably a little thick, so I'm just going to bring that to about 14. If you select down here and then if you deselect the layer, you can start drawing a new path. Deselect the layer, draw a new path. Hold down Shift so that way everything stays in line. Deselect the path, hold down Shift. Deselect the path, hold down Shift. All right, now we get to these thinner lines, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep drawing those, but before I go on to the rest of them, I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller, and let's maybe go about half, so 7, and I'm going to continue to draw those lines until I have this whole pattern drawn out. Okay, now I have all my paths drawn in. Select all of those. Starting with shape layer 1, go all the way up to shape layer 27. Hold down Shift, click on that. That's going to select all your layers. And then just to differentiate here, I'm just going to go ahead and switch that to yellow. So that way I can tell the difference between those shapes and these shapes. Something I should have done before I started drawing those paths is I probably should have added a trim path. Because now I have to go through and individually add a trim path. Under the trim path, let's go ahead and hit a keyframe. Let's change that to 0. Go forward about a second, and then change that to 100. And that's going to animate that path. Perfect. Let's copy and then hit J to go back to the previous keyframe. Select this next keyframe, go out to the end, and then paste. Great. So now we're going to see that those are all going to get animated on. All right. So go ahead and select all those yellow all those yellow layers. Hit U to bring up your animation keyframes. And then we're going to draw a box around all these keyframes. Hit F9 for easy ease. Hit your graph editor, grab that handle, and then let's pull this all the way out this way. So that way it'll ease into that last keyframe. Let's go ahead and unsolo everything. Now we don't need this grid pattern anymore, so let's go ahead and hide that just for the time being. Let's go ahead and select all of these. Go back to this first keyframe. Make sure that all those layers are selected. Hit Option, open bracket. That's going to trim all your layers to the playhead. And now, with all those layers still selected, you're going to hit Command-Shift-C to pre-compose. Under the pre-compose, let's call this texture. And then make sure that all your attributes are moved into this new composition. Hit OK. And before you move the frame, let's go ahead and hit Option and open bracket. One more time to trim that layer to the playhead. And now what you're going to see is that layer animate in. That's exactly what we want. So under the effects, we're going to look for, oh, what did I do? If you ever move a panel somewhere like that, like what I just did, go to Window, Workspace, and Reset Default. And this is going to reset all your panels back to where they should be. Go to the effects. Let's highlight that. And let's look for the mirror. Go ahead and drag that mirror effect onto your layer. Under the reflection angle, let's go ahead and set that to 90 degrees. And that's going to mirror it down. And I want just a little bit of separation here just so we can tell from one shape to the other. That looks pretty good, something like that. And now that you've mirrored it that way, we want to mirror this one more time. So go ahead and drag it on there. This time, instead of 90 degrees, we're going to do, let's go ahead and reorder this, right? So first we want to mirror it 90 degrees, and then after that, we want to mirror it 180 degrees. Now everything's gone, and that's because we have to move our center here. Oh, this is hard to grab. Let's try it this way. Let's just click and drag. And that looks pretty interesting right about there. All right, now that we have our texture in place, let's go ahead and zoom out, fit the composition. Let's hit R for rotation. Let's go -90 here, or 90 degrees. Hit S for scale, and I'm just going to scale this up. We want to move this all the way down to the bottom. That looks great. See how cool that looks? Let's scoot this back to the beginning of the animation here, so that way everything builds in at once. That looks pretty nifty. Let's grab all the logo layers. And let's just scoot those down a line just a little bit, just so that way the texture animates in first and then the logo animates on top of that. It's getting a little convoluted here, so I'm going to change the color of the logo. Select the layers of the logo. Under stroke, let's change that to white. Click OK. And now hit Command Y for a new solid, or you can right click, go to new solid. And let's just make this blue for now. All right, let's put that all the way down at the bottom of the composition. And then now that that's white, let's change the blending mode to overlay. So that way we have this cool effect. And then that blue is just too blue for my liking. So I'm going to go under the effects panel, search for gradient ramp. I'm just going to type in ramp because that's easier. And then I'm going to drag that onto the blue solid. Now it went to black and white, but we can change those colors and we can change the style of ramp. So let's change this to a radial ramp. And under the start color, which is this color up here, let's change that to, I don't know, maybe let's try something like that. And then under the white, let's go ahead and change this to something like that. Then let's just zoom out a little bit just so we can grab this handle. And what this is, it's the end of the ramp, right? And you can see up here under my readings, I haven't let go of the mouse button yet, so I'm still dragging it. But you can see that my values are changing, so I'm just telling it where I want this end of the ramp. So this is the blue color, right? So the purple color is up there, and then the blue color is going to get dragged out to, let's just do something like that. And then if you accidentally do that, just Command Z to undo. Command Z to undo, just in case you didn't catch it the first time. And we'll put it, I kind of like that up in the corner there. That looks pretty cool, you guys. Let's go ahead and zoom back in. Go to the end of the animation, hit N to trim your work area, and then just hit spacebar to preview that. We are running out of the texture before the end of the animation, which is this down here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to double click to go back into the animation. You see all these layers here, they're still selected. So let's go to the beginning of the animation. And if you hit open bracket, that's going to move all that animation down to that end. And then go to the end of the animation, which is only 5 seconds. So maybe let's give ourselves a little bit more time. So go to composition settings. Under the duration, we want to change this to, let's just change it to 10 seconds. Click OK. Zoom out by hitting the minus key. This is the full 10 seconds here displayed on your timeline. Select your bottom layer and then shift click, select your top layer, and we can do this two ways. We can click and drag like this, or we can just go to the end of your timeline and hit Option close bracket. That's going to extend your layers all the way to the playhead. Let's go back to our composition. And now that we have this, we no longer see it animated, and that's because the beginning of the animation is being cut off. So let's just take this all the way back to the beginning. Let's move this back. And you can tell this is the beginning because two things, right? Like you can see that grayed out area. You can extend that layer all the way to there. And once you reach the end of that clip, you'll see this little marker right here, this little black arrow. And that's going to tell you that you're all the way to the beginning of the animation. Now that we have that animation in there, we can go ahead and take a look at it. And that looks pretty cool, you guys. All right, let's move on to one more scene. So now what I want to do is take the things that we've learned here and combine it with a matte mask. And you're going to see what that looks like next. Let's select all your layers. Hit Command A to select all the layers. Let's go to the end of the animation, which is about 3 seconds. Let's hit Option, close bracket. That way it's going to trim everything, all the layers up to the playhead or down to the playhead. Let's click and drag our work area and let's move it out here. Now 5 seconds is a little short, so let's go ahead and go back to this 3 layer here under composition headings. This is called a hamburger menu where you have those 3 lines. So click that hamburger menu and then let's change this from 5 seconds over to 10 seconds. Click OK. Let's go ahead and Command D to duplicate. Oh boy. Command Z. Let's make sure we just have the 1 layer selected. Let's click that blue solid. Command D, duplicate it. Let's bring this back to the playhead. And now, I think what we want to do is we want to change this color. Let's go something a little bit more wild here. Let's click OK. Click and drag that start ramp handle. And then at the end of ramp, let's change this something a little bit more desert theme. Click OK. All right, now that we have our Salt Lake logo animated here, we're going to animate a new logo. And just to keep with the same theme, let's go ahead and type out. This time we're going to type out Salt Lake. And then I'm just going to rotate this just a little bit. You can kind of see that it has these slants. I'm just going to rotate it enough so those slants are now straight up and down. I think that looks up and down. My eyes are playing tricks on me. I think that's up and down. If you're not sure, hit Command R, bring your little guide over here. And I was really close. -25. There we go. So close. Hit V for your selection tool. Get that out of here. Command R, get those rulers out of here. Select that layer, copy, paste. And then let's drag this down a little bit. Double click. And this time we're going to type in city. You're going to hit Command Enter to deselect the text tool. That way you can drag your city layer wherever you want. And you see this nice little gap in here. That's where I want to put my dot of the eye. Go ahead and select both of those. Hit Command open bracket to trim the layers to the playhead. I'm just going to scoot them over just a little bit, just so that way it goes from that. There we go. So Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City. What I want to do with this logo is actually do the write-on effect. And I'm sure you guys have seen it, but we're going to do a little twist on this. We're going to add some color to that write-on effect. So now that we have both of these, let's go ahead and lock them, just so we're not doing anything to them. And then the first thing we want to do is start drawing that in. So hit G for your pen tool or select it up in your toolbar. And you're just going to start drawing. Keep in mind, the way you draw this is going to signify the start and end of your path, right? So my first dot is going to be the beginning of the path. And then I'm just going to go just so you can see what's going on a little bit better, I'm going to change this over to red, hit OK, and under the width of the stroke, I'm going to make that big enough that it covers. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see what's going on. So you're going to make the stroke big enough just to cover the white portion of that S or that graphic. That word, oh boy, I'm having a hard time, you guys. Just click and drag, draw your way around this. That's looking very good. So if you have a little bit of white showing, you don't want to do that because then your letter is going to be all weird. So you want to make sure that you're covering the white completely. So just keep working your way around it. I made a little boo-boo there, so I'm just going to go back. And what's helpful is if you stay in the middle of the white area, this is going to get your path to completely cover that. That looks pretty good. Let's hit down here to deselect the path. And now we want to start drawing the alt and salt. And I think what we want to do is we want to start here so that way the path animates almost like you're writing it, right? So it's going to follow that path just like that. So click right there. Bring that over, and up. Now here you want to be a little bit careful because you'll see this will make more sense here as we get a little bit farther. But when you animate this line over here, what you want to do is you want to animate it up in a way that it doesn't go past this line, because you don't want it to seem like it has a little tail, a little cutoff tail. We're going to take it all the way up to here and then come back down to draw the tail of the A. So you just want to be careful not to show your cards before you play them. So you see what I did there? And then you want to bring that back down. And with your pen tool, all I'm doing is click and holding. That way I can draw out these. Oh, you see what I did there? Let me take the transparency down. I think this will help explain what's actually going on. All right, if you take the transparency down, you see my shape is actually going to come here, and then it's going to have this little wonky sticking out little tail before it animates that way. So we want to get rid of that. So I'm just going to hit Command, Undo, and that's actually a really good way to see. So I'm just going to turn down the opacity, and then I'm going to try this one more. Whoa. Click and drag that one. Click and drag that one. And then I'm going to try. There we go. That's a little better. You see how now my shape doesn't seem like it has a tail. It will later, but at this point it doesn't have a tail. So click and drag. Now we can come back. Click and drag. Whoa. Click and drag there. And it doesn't matter if you get a little bit out of the lines, because really what we're going to be showing is inside. We're going to be creating a matte track. So here we go into the space again where we have this tail. So again, we want to make sure that we're not giving away the punchline quite yet. Now this one's going to be a little bit hard because we are going to see these little nubs. But at least on this side, we can move that over so we don't see those nubs. So that way we just have to worry on the one side. And I'll show you what to do here in a second. So go back, animate that. I'm sorry, fill the color. Move that over here and then do that one more time. That looks great. Let's take the opacity back up to 100%. And now what you're going to do is you're going to select both of those, and you want to set your track matte to Salt Lake, right? Because that's the word that it's going to act as. So you see what we did there? This is the little nubs that I was talking about. You can clearly see it on this side. There's a little bit on this side, so we're going to have to adjust that. Hit G on your keyboard for the pen tool, and then you can go ahead and select that path, and I'm just going to move it out just a little bit. I'm just going to move it out just a little bit until you see that little nub go away. Now we still have it on this side, and that's okay, because now what we can do is with that layer selected, let's make sure that layer is selected. Go up to your mask, tool creates mask. We're still on the pen tool, and what we want to do is we want to click there, go straight down, go around, come back up, and close the gap. If you hit M on your keyboard, this will bring up the mask on that shape layer. And what we want to do is we want to subtract that. So now we're not going to have that little nub. That's great. Let's click down here. So we deselect all the layers, go back to your pen tool. And if you're already on it, let's just reveal the Salt Lake. All right. And now, let's see. So if we're drawing cursive, right, that T, we actually want to start on the opposite end. We want it to start back here and go this way. Perfect. And then we also want to set a mat track for this under the Salt Lake. And that looks great. All right, so now that we have salt, I'm going to repeat the same process for lake and city. I'm going to speed it up just so I'm not boring you guys to death, and I'll be back in just a minute and we'll finish out this animation. And just like that, we have drawn out our logo. Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks amazing. You're probably thinking my 2-year-old nephew could have drawn something better than that. That looks like crap. Well, you're probably right. Yeah. So let's go ahead and select all those different layers. Let's go back here just a few frames and then hit Option, open bracket. That'll trim all the layers back to the playhead. And before you deselect all those layers, under the track mat, let's go ahead and select the Salt Lake. And you notice that the Salt Lake worked perfectly like we wanted to, except the city did not. And that's because the city layers are also set to Salt Lake. And so we have to select those and make sure that those are set to city. Beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and start with the top layer here. Toggle this down, go to contents. Actually, before you do that, add trim pass. That's going to give you this animation here. Go to the end, set a keyframe there. Let's make that 0. And now let's go forward about a second and then change that back over to 100, not 10%, 100. And what that's going to do is it's going to draw the line. And that looks pretty cool, right? Am I right? Am I right? Oh, man, that looks horrible. Under stroke, instead of the butt cap, I don't know why they named it a butt cap. Whoever named it the butt cap was just having a bad day. Let's change that to round day. Round day? Round cap. They were having a bad day. We want a round cap. And let's do that for all the different layers here. Let's go to shape, stroke, under butt cap, change to round cap. Let's minimize that. Under content, shape, stroke, butt cap, round cap. Content, shape, stroke, butt cap, round cap. Contents, shape, stroke, butt cap, round cap. I sound like I'm working out here. Oh, contents, oop, contents, shape, stroke, stroke, butt cap, round cap. And lastly, the S. So one more time, stick with me. Thank you for sticking with me. Under stroke, butt cap, round cap. Now, that seemed like a lot of work for nothing. You will see what that does here in a second. Let's go ahead and select all those layers, hit U to bring up the keyframe. And before we go any farther, let's change these to a, I don't know, orange. So that way we can see which layers are which, right? So this is all our animated trim path layers, and these are our text layers that say Salt Lake City. Now that you have the end of the animation animated, the end of the animation keyframed out, let's go ahead and select those keyframes, copy that, select all the other layers, and then paste that. Now what you're going to see is this cool effect. And I know what you're thinking, that doesn't look like it's written on. And you're right, that doesn't look like it's written on. We're going to have to manipulate. Sounds like I'm going through puberty here. All right, we're going to have to manipulate these keyframes. So we'll start off with the S. So the S animates in, and now we want the Alt. And then when that gets to the end, we want to cross our T and dot our I's. Well, no, we just want to cross our T. We're going to dot the I a little bit later here. All right, so now we're going to take this. And you know what? Instead of moving the keyframes, I'm just going to move the entire layer. So we have the salt. That's going to dot that. And then the lake is going to come on. And then the city is going to come on. And then this animation is going to go there and there. I'm just going to move that in a little bit and move this in a little bit because this is going to be our I and this is going to be our T. So we're going to cross our T. Nope, we did it backwards. We're going to cross our T and dot the I. I think what I want to do is grab all the end keyframes here, select all those, and what we're going to do is we're going to do an easy ease on those keyframes. So hit F9, or you can right click on them and select these ease. Go into your graph editor, and with all those keyframes selected, we're just going to drag those out this way to the left. And we're going to speed that animation and slow it down. And that's a little fast, so I'm just going to spread that out just a little bit. The Alt, this animation is a little fast. I think what's happening is we've started the animation before we end the S. There we go. That looks better. Let's just make sure one more time. I think we want to cross the T as that's coming to an end. And then the lake is coming on a little fast, so we're going to do that. And now the city is coming on too soon, so we're going to push the city down a little ways. That looks pretty good. The dot on the I is happening a little too late, and that T is taking a little too long. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm running out of frames here, so I'm just going to go back in the hamburger menu, go to composition settings, and I'm just going to extend that out just another 5 seconds. So give ourselves 15 seconds for this animation. Click OK, and now we have room so we don't feel like we're getting crunched here at the end of this. Let's take a look and see what that looks like one more time. That's looking really good. I feel like the alt is taking a little too long to develop there. Now that we have that animation done, you notice that our background disappears, and we just have to extend that background out. So select that background, extend it all the way out to the end of the timeline there. And same thing with these. Oh, we locked them. We want to unlock them. Select both of those two layers and drag them all the way out to the end of the animation. And let's also grab these. Go all the way to the end of the animation and hit Option, close bracket. That's going to extend it all the way out there. And same thing with the background. Option, close bracket. And that's going to extend it all the way to the end of the timeline. All right, now that we have that animation, we want to select all the animated paths. Go ahead and hit Option, Shift, C to pre-compose. And we're going to call this Salt Lake Paths. And we're going to move all the attributes into the new composition, hit OK. So now that we have that pre-composed, select that pre-composed layer, copy and paste. And then under our effects, we want to search for, let's click that X. We want to search for fill. And we're going to bring that onto that second layer. We are going to change this from, let's go something dark red, kind of like that. Actually, we want to copy that fill and we're going to paste it onto the bottom layer. Paste it there. And now this one, we're going to make a little bit lighter. Let's go something like this, but we want to go more orange. That looks good. Select that layer, copy, paste. And this one we're going to make yellow. Click OK. And then one more time, copy and paste that layer. And this time we're going to go white. Go back to the beginning here. I'm going to select all of these and then I'm going to hit Option, open bracket. That's going to trim all my layers to the playhead. And what I want to do now is select these three upper ones and scoot them down just a little bit. And then I'm going to redo the same thing here. Offset them just a little bit. Deselect that layer and offset that just a little bit. So now what we're going to have is this really cool effect here. That looks really good. On this bottom layer, I think what I want to do is just create a little bit of separation between the text and the background. So I'm just going to put on a drop shadow. So search for drop shadow, put that in. I'm going to change this over to 25. Distance is good at 5, and the softness I'm going to take up to 10. That looks pretty cool. Okay, you guys, there you have it. If you stuck around this long and you made it all the way to the end of the tutorial, you made it past everything all the jibber jabber that I'm doing, all the blah, 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 you're amazing. This logo is pretty cool as it is, but I want to add just a little bit of oomph to it. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to add a camera movement to this logo. Let's make this a 35 millimeter. Click OK. Go to the beginning of the animation, toggle down your transform, Option, close bracket. That'll trim that layer to the playhead. Select all of the logo layers and click 3D. And we also want to select all of your layers and hit the motion blur icon. That's going to give your animation a little bit more realism, and it's just going to meld everything together. I think that's where we want to end. So at the beginning, we want to start somewhere like and we don't want to zoom in too much because then we lose all the animation that comes in from that texture background, and then move our new keyframes all the way back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of the playhead, hit spacebar to preview your animation, and that looks pretty wicked. So the texture here, hit P for position, and we're going to animate the position. We want to go to the beginning, we want to set that, and then by the end of the animation, we want to give it a little bit more separation. So I'm just going to push that back. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Oh, that looks amazing, you guys. All right, that's enough. I'm going to quit messing around with it. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the tutorial. If you guys want access to these files, please let me know in the comments down below. If you're having a hard time following them, or if I'm skipping over too much or too much detail, let me know as well. Please like and subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys like the tutorial. I'm going to be dropping a tutorial every week. I love doing these. These are so much fun. Until next time, this is Julio, your motion sidekick, here to help you out on your motion side. Oh, my, you guys know the spiel. Love you guys. Peace out.